The Legend of Zelda franchise, one of the most beloved action-adventure series of all time. Its legacy dating back to 1986 on the NES. It truly has had a lot of influence on video games over the years, both in 2D and 3D. But you typically see the series as an adventure game, right? Well, what if I were to inform you that this beloved series had actually had a roguelike game released in recent years? I'm of course talking about Cadence of Hyrule, the forgotten Zelda Roguelike. So then, although this is a Zelda game, you can't forget the other half of the puzzle, Crypt of the Necrodancer. This is a highly popular dungeon crawl roguelike, with one pretty massive twist. It's also a rhythm game, which on the surface seems incredibly weird. But once you start playing, it all just clicks. Moving and attacking perfectly on beat, with a great soundtrack to boot. It's no wonder why this game became such a hit. And so, Cadence of Hyrule takes the gameplay formula that Crypt of the Necrodancer started and combined it with some classic Zelda flair. This sounds like the weirdest thing ever when only described in words, but it works really well in execution. Every time you start a new file, the main world gets randomized. So every time you play, you won't know the location of all the items. However, it won't change in between deaths. So in one playthrough, the world map will forever stay the same, which is honestly pretty unique. And the gameplay here is the same as in regular old Crypt of the Necrodancer, so it feels great. It's fun to see the gameplay elements of Legend of Zelda be transferred into a modern pixel art style, and a roguelike at that, so wonderfully. The classic item that Link is known to use is spread all throughout the world, but since the world is randomized every time, the order you get the item is different every playthrough. The main goal here is to go from dungeon to dungeon, to seek out different magical instruments. These have got plot relevance and are used to defeat the evil bad guy, Octavo, who is really unique for a Zelda boss. So then, that's the basic setup of Cadence of Hyrule. Now, let's see what this game does that's so great. Now, this shouldn't come as a surprise, but this game is pretty replayable, considering its many randomly generated mechanics. The main game is pretty short, only about 4 hours, so you could realistically replay it. And with the addition of a permadeath mode, you can really hone your skills in the game. The music, once again, pretty self-explanatory. The Legend of Zelda franchise is known for its iconic and excellent music, and this game right here takes that and remixes into a fresh new experience. The only complaint about it is the lack of different tracks, but that's a pretty good sign if the only complaint is that I want more of it. This game is simply gorgeous. Like I mentioned previously, the modern take combining the aesthetic of classic games, like A Link to the Past, with the modern title really is just such a wonderful look. The sprite art of the overworld is a definite highlight, with the cities just feeling so cozy. I really just adore it. Now, these are a definite highlight in all Zelda games, and there's no exception here. These are the most roguelike part of the game, with every time you enter them, they're completely randomized. These parts feel the most Crypt of the Necrodancer like in the entire game, and the bosses in the end of the dungeons are pretty solid for the most part. Now, most Zelda games you only play as Link. However, Here you have some options to play and choose from. You can obviously still play as Link, but now you have 10 different options to choose from, which is pretty insane considering they all got different abilities, strengths and weaknesses. But now, no game is perfect, so here are some cons with the game. Now, this game is fairly light on content, which works fine for some games, but I really just wish they put in a few extra stuff here. I know there's DLC packs for some extra stuff, but at that point it gets kind of expensive. The first time playing this game, the location of certain items or locations were just hard to find. Probably because it wasn't randomly generated, but it was still annoying running around and searching for some random gear just to progress. Although the game can be replayed a whole bunch of times, I'm not sure it does enough to justify it. While playing as different characters and the overworld being different certainly spices it up, it still gets really samey really quickly. A part of me wished they would just lean even more into the roguelike part, instead of being half classic Zelda and half roguelike. But hey, Cadence of Hyrule is still a great game that I really had a fun time with. Its art style is gorgeous and the gameplay is fun, and I really love how they tried to do something else with the Zelda IP. So this game, it really has my respects.